Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this episode of Two Girls, One Doc.
One Doc.
It's your girl, BD.
It is Four Ends, the foodie.
And we are back with a credits. Now, so this credits is entitled Sweet Bobby, My Catfish Nightmare, yeah? Because we're going to be talking about that documentary. However, we did cover the podcast, yeah? And so what I'm going to do is put in that episode, yeah, so we can refresh ourselves of what the hell we thought about the podcast. And then at the end, we are going to append us talking about how we feel about the documentary, the differences, blah, blah, blah. In the show notes will be where we start talking about the documentary, because you may have just listened to our podcast episode, you may know the podcast, and want to skip to that. Feel free to do so. I will put it in the show notes. Okay? And with that, here is our thoughts on the podcast. So today we are doing a credits episode, and we are talking about the podcast series Sweet Bobby.
Yeah, that was
last
a crazy
episode
one.
we told you that you should listen to it before today. If you haven't, that's fine, but if you're bothered to, you should, because then you'll have thoughts and feelings and opinions.
Yeah. If you're already here, you listen to podcasts, so you might as well just listen to that one because it's worth it.
It is good, yeah. It's really good. So what I'll do is do a recap of the story, and then we can talk about our feelings, okay?
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was screaming in the car listening to this podcast, is everyone okay? Is everyone all right? Yeah.
No.
So this podcast is hosted by this guy called Alexi Mostras, who kind of sounds like Louis Theroux, don't you think?
I haven't listened to it in a while, but I'll go with you and say yes.
At first I was like, I don't know, because narrators of podcasts, when podcasts aren't just normal podcasts, when they're narrated and stuff, sometimes they can be really jarring, it just sounds forced.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, this really sounds forced, but then he started to sound like Louis Theroux, and I was like, oh my god, I love him. But yeah, so this story centers around this lady called Kirat Asi. She's in her late 20s at the time that this happened, and that's very important, yeah, because late 20s is a pivotal stage in your life, okay?
But you're also a fully grown adult.
Yeah, you're a fully grown adult, but you're a fully grown adult who's trying to think about having kids and getting married and relationships and stuff.
Yeah, it's pivotal, but the point I'm making is you're fully grown adult.
I know what point you're making, and we'll get there. No, of course you're grown, yeah, you're 100% grown. So she works for this Punjabi radio station. She lives in West London, I think Hounslow sides. And she meets this guy called Bobby online, and they hit it off, and they embark on this 10-year long distance virtual relationship. The problem is that Bobby's a catfish. That's why this podcast exists, okay? So how did they meet? So they meet on Facebook, and Kirat has a cousin called Simran who has an ex-boyfriend called JJ who has a brother called Bobby. Yeah?
But this is the thing, it's all traceable connections.
These are real people, as in your cousin, also she's real. And your cousin's ex-boyfriend, he's real, and he has a brother, Bobby. Why would you think anything other than thing? But then JJ dies, right? The ex-boyfriend of her cousin, he dies. And so then Bobby, his brother, reaches out to her, you're such a role model for him, all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of I would be thinking, okay, you're doing a lot, because it's not like her and JJ were besties or anything.
And it's not even that is my sister, that's my cousin.
That's my cousin, who's
and
10
people
years
have hella cousins,
how much of an impact did I really make? But cool, whatever, maybe this is your grief, whatever, yeah. So they have loads of mutuals on Facebook as well. So there's a verifiable person. And then also they talk about this one night where she's in Brighton at a hen do, they're in a club, and she sees Bobby. And obviously her and Bobby have been chatting on Facebook. So she goes up to him and is like, oh, Bobby, it's me, it's Kirat, right? But they haven't met before. And then he kind of he doesn't recognize her. He looks a bit confused as to who this woman is, even though they've been talking on Facebook sort of quite consistently. But Kirat just thinks, do you know what, it's 2 a.m. He's probably drunk. He probably doesn't really clock what's going on. It's not that deep.
Kirat has to take ownership in this situation that she found herself in. I'm so sorry. She's the victim, but I just listened to it and I was like, sis.
Yeah. And these are the things that we need to discuss. I just want to give you guys context so you can come to a conclusion. So they are friends for a long time.
And then Bobby goes abroad. So they're Sikh, right? And there's like a strong Sikh Kenyan community. So Bobby goes to Kenya and he gets shot, right? Which is really sad. And then he dies, which is even sadder. And then Kirat gets added to this like Facebook chat with like 40 people all talking about him. R.I.P. Bobby. Oh my goodness, can't believe this happened. Blah, 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 blah. And so this is where it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous, yeah? Because now it turns out that Bobby's actually not dead. He's alive. And not only is he alive, but he's in witness protection in New York. So he went from Kenya having been shot to New York witness protection. So because of the witness protection, there's only so much that he can say and divulge and all that kind of stuff. And also, since being shot, he's now very, very sick. And he has strokes and heart attacks all the time. And then when he had an operation, his vocal cords were cut. So he can't really speak very much in terms of like on the phone. All of this just sounds very convenient, okay?
So where were you shot, first of all?
In
That's
Kenya.
the
He was shot in Kenya.
No, I mean the body part.
In the body. Right.
Were you shot in the neck?
Why was the surgery in the throat? Maybe he was shot in the neck.
Okay.
Maybe he was shot in the neck. I just feel like I would have no issue with asking questions like this. I would be like, oh, so sorry to hear that you were shot. Okay, so where? What happened? What surgery did they do? Like, what was going on? Kind of thing. Like, it's not about being polite. Like, I would like to know.
This is someone who you're spending how many hours talking to a day? Like, basic things like this you should know.
And then you were in Kenya, shot in Kenya. Where did America come from? Like, I know, like, America, the government, they like to be in everyone's business, but why did they come to Kenya to get you to now put you in New York,
as
Manhattan,
a British citizen,
to be specific? Why did they do that? Witness protection. What did you witness? What are they protecting?
Lordy me.
So her cousin Simran has a few work trips that take her to New York. So when she's in New York, she sees Bobby, and so she kind of talking to Kira like, oh yeah, like I saw him today, like he's still in the hospital but he's doing all right, blah 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 blah. Again, so this like reinforcing like, oh, you know, that she's seen Bobby and Bobby's real, okay? And her and Bobby Skype all the time. Now this was back in the day where it was Skype and it wasn't Zoom, yeah? And Skype, the whole benefit of Skype is that you have a video, like video chat, like I see you, you see me. But Bobby wouldn't have a camera on, and it would be because he wasn't allowed to because of the witness protection.
Okay.
But Kirat could have her camera on.
So you're under witness protection. The people from your pre-witness protection life know who you are. They can contact you easily, but you just cannot show your face. But they already know what you look like and they don't know your name. The whole point of witness protection is so that you are a protected witness. Nothing about this is
nothing is protected. Why? Who am I? Why am I so special that I can know where you are? Why is the US government that flew you out?
But
from
why
Kenya,
is it that I can know where you are, know your name, know what you look like, but you can't turn on your camera when you're talking to me? I already have all the information I need to do something.
If I was going to get them to find you, I would have gotten them to find you. So strange. And there's also a bit where they talk about the fact that, so Bobby's married. So initially they're friends, okay? And Bobby's married and he has like a kid, 2 kids, I think, a kid and a kid on the way. During the course of their friendship, his marriage breaks down. So now he is single, but he still sees his kids and stuff. There's a point where like Kirat and Bobby are picking out clothes for the kid together. And then after they've picked out the clothes, Kirat would see a picture on Bobby's Facebook of the kid in those clothes. So she's kind of seeing this kid as like her stepson and like all that kind of stuff, right? Cool. So all of this just makes her like really like him and stuff like that. So they go from friendship to relationship. This is around, I want to say it was 2018 that this happened. This started in 2009, I think. So then the relationship takes a turn because Bobby becomes really abusive. He gets really upset if she has friends. She stops hugging her male friends because she's like, oh, Bobby wouldn't like it. If she goes out, he's always complaining. She had, before him, she had like a on and off boyfriend, and Bobby's always like, oh, you wish I was like him because he would let you out all the time, but I don't, blah blah blah. Cool. He becomes like really manipulative to the point where they'll be on the phone having an argument, and then he would now be having a stroke. I don't know how you can deduce someone's having a stroke over the phone, yeah? But he'll just now be having a stroke or a heart attack. Obviously, it's not funny, but it is funny because it's not true. But he'd be having a stroke and stuff, and so, like, there's so many times where she almost flew to New York, and then he'd be like, no, I'm fine, like, don't come. Just bare shit, yeah? And also, her family have spoken to him, and so, like, everyone is kind of on board with this relationship, even though there is no evidence that this guy is who he says he is.
Ciao. Okay.
So he's meant to come and see her in London from New York. Again, with this witness protection, can you just fly around all willy-nilly? Are we discussing the case that you're being protected from as a witness?
It doesn't seem so.
Like 1 + 1 is giving cabbage. That's what it's doing right now.
It's just
it doesn't make any sense.
It's all vibes and bad ones at that.
And bad ones at that. So every time he's meant to come see her in London, he flops. This happens at least 6 or 7 times. And then finally, in fact, before that, there's one point in time where she's like, yeah, like, he was coming, so I, like, redid the kitchen because I wanted everything to be... I was like, girl, what the hell? But, yeah, so one time he does come to London, finally, but he refuses to see her. He's staying at this hotel in Kensington, so she goes, fuck it, I'm gonna go to the hotel and I'm gonna go and see him. Like, this is the love of my life, like, you know, why would he want to see me? So she goes to the hotel, and I'm just imagining this, like, in real life, like, you as a real human being person has gone into this hotel, to the counter, to somebody who's doing their job, and said, oh, like, where's Bobby? Like, he's supposed to be here. And they're looking at her like, there's no one here by that name, so, like, you know, weird. And so then Bobby's like, oh yeah, I told them to say that because I don't want anyone to find me.
So why did you come?
So Kirat's life by this point is kind of falling apart. She's isolated from her friends, she's losing weight, she quits her job because of the stress of everything. And remember, all of this has started, it's been like 10 years of all of this, starting from her late 20s. You're a big woman, starting from then, when your friends are getting married, having babies, buying houses, doing all these things, you're in this circle of Bobby, right?
Yeah, online,
virtual, yeah. So she decides enough is enough, okay? She finally stands up and she hires a private investigator to find Bobby, which I don't know why she didn't do this before, but okay. But anyway, so many questions.
I don't know why she didn't just ask her. Okay, well, actually, I do know.
Right. So she hires a PI. The PI finds Bobby's address and she goes there. So she drives to his address, okay? And I want you to picture the scene. He answers the door. And he's with his wife, right? Who, in Kirat's mind, this is his ex-wife, because he told her that they were divorced. So him and the wife answer the door, and she is livid. Like, how could you lie to me? Like, how could you do this? And Bobby is confused as hell. Like, the fuck?
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, like, who are you? And the wife, I was like, their relationship must be solid, because Kirat was like visibly, it wasn't even like pretending. She really, really felt like this guy was lying to her, cheating on her, deceiving her. So she was coming with vim, and the husband is like Bobby's like, I do not know this woman, and the wife believes him and is like, yeah, fam, if my husband said he doesn't know you, he doesn't know you. Yeah, that could have ended somebody's relationship. But anyway, and then Bobby's like, okay, well, call me. You keep saying that I've been talking to you. Call me. I promise you it's not my number because I haven't been speaking to you. Maybe it's my brother. People mix us up, that kind of thing. She calls the number. Obviously, it's not him. And then Bobby, quote unquote Bobby, happens to call her at that time. And so her phone is ringing. It says Bobby, but she's standing in front of the real Bobby, who's obviously not calling her. And you think that would be enough to be like, oh, something's up. But Kirat is like, no, I bet your wife has gone back inside to call me with a different phone. Why would she be in on it? Why would the wife be? It was just to a point where I was like, you have become consumed with this situation.
You have to at that stage, because you've given it how many years, so you can't sit there and admit to yourself this isn't real after you've wasted. And I will say wasted, because it's different if you're a physical
relationship. There's no lesson to be learned from this. There's
nothing other than don't be a fool.
Yeah, there's no positive to come out of this. So she goes home, she drives home, and the whole way home she's on the phone to her cousin, like, I can't believe this guy, because Simran is like the closest person to her that knows this Bobby guy.
Yeah. Anyway,
sometime after that, Simran goes to Kirat's house and admits that it was her that was catfishing her. She was Bobby the whole time. She was using his pictures, and she was also all the other people in the story, all the 40 people in the group chat. Everyone was Simran.
But is this not a sickness?
Madness. So that is the background story. If you want more details and more, because we just literally summarized this real quick. Yeah. If you want more, listen to the podcast. But that's the gist of the story. Okay. And so our thoughts. I have so many thoughts, because in the first half, I was like, Kirat is so dumb. okay, like gullible at the very least, if you want to put it nicely. I still don't think that means that this should have happened to her. And they have had lots of like, there's videos on YouTube and stuff, and people's opinions saying, this could have happened to anyone, like blah blah blah.
No,
I don't know that it could have happened to anyone, but I do think that people are probably more susceptible to it than they think. I think people think that, this could never happen, in no respect. People who've been talking to there's people who've spoken to people online and like maybe didn't get to this point, but they realize, okay, yeah, something's dodgy about this. Do you get what I mean? I think it takes a special kind of somebody for it to get to this stage. But at the same time,
I'm not like, I'll just come out and say it's happened to me. Is he a real person?
The American.
Is he a fucking real person?
That seems like ages ago.
I still wish I could like
find.
Yeah, get to the bottom of that.
Imagine if that turned out to be somebody that you knew, though. Do you know how fucked that would be?
I know.
But then imagine how much more believable it would be if it was some, like, do you know what I mean? Like, say for example, I was a mutual friend of his.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, like, I don't know, I've just been MySpace friends with him for ages. It would be a more credible.
Of course. I think I know what that story was. I think I've deduced in my head, but I just feel like, yeah, it's possible for anybody can be catfished, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's anybody can be catfished.
It's very possible, but to this extent, it takes a very specific kind of person to have this happen to them. Yeah,
and to be honest, it's not even to say that Kirat's stupid, yeah. It's like you really allowed a lot of things. You ignored a lot of red flags, and that's a stupid thing to do. Do you get what I mean? Because I get that, because Simran, like, I don't know how she managed to get all her A-levels or her, because Simran, okay, let's talk about Simran. Simran is her cousin, 10 years younger than her. So Simran herself was 17 when this started. She got like hella good results at A-levels. She works for like a high flying like company. She's in a really good position. She works in finance, and she was like really high up. She's gotten engaged. I don't know if she's married by now, but she's just been living her life like a normal person. Right?
But how do you marry someone like this? But this, do you know what? Yeah, this could drive you to unalive yourself. I don't know. Like, if it was me and someone did this to me and then their whole life was just fine, I don't know if I would be able to.
They face no repercussions.
I don't know if I'd be able to live.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's criminal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. And like, look at Kira however you want. Say she's stupid, say she's dumb, whatever. Okay, cool, she ignored hella red flags. They were red as hell, yeah. But at the same time, Simran really went out of her way to dupe her.
For 10.
Do you get what I mean?
Do you know that I can't even respond to I can't even respond to my friends on WhatsApp on a regular day. How are you running a double life?
Mate, you had like 40 other accounts. How many email addresses? Like, it's just so crazy. It's crazy to me. There's just, and then it's like, you're the one who's validating. Like, even when Kira had doubts, because she had doubts along the way, but then Simran is saying, oh yeah, no, I've spoken to him, or oh yeah, like I've seen him, or yeah, I know him. Like, why would you not think that? Okay, cool,
it's all as well, yeah.
And then so then Kira is like, okay, fuck this fucking shit, yeah. She faints when Simran tells her. She actually faints.
Yeah, but you have to.
I get you have to. Yeah.
You blew up your whole life.
Yeah, literally. You pause. You are stuck
in time,
and for nothing, for absolutely nothing. So she goes to the police because she's like, this must be a crime, and they're like, nah, babe, like it's not. Like catfishing is not a crime. So then she files a civil case. And they end up settling. So what Kira really wants is like a public apology. Like, you have embarrassed me and you fucked up my life.
In front of the community as well. A very tight-knit community. And she doesn't get that. Simran writes an apology, and it's not really, there's no accountability. And also, we're not allowed to hear the letter. If you listen to the podcast, you'll get it more, but she can't show us the whole letter. But the gist of it is very like, oh, like, you know, you felt this way, and like, I feel bad for you, son, kind of thing. Kira rewrites the letter and sends it to her, and it's like, sign this, because this is the kind of apology that I would want. So Simran signs it, and then they get that letter back, and then that's
settled. And I was just like, this doesn't prove anything. It doesn't explain why you did it. It doesn't show any remorse.
Yeah.
You don't take any accountability. Like, why the hell did you do this? And like, what's wrong with you up here that you could just do this and go on living your life? Like, that's
She's
wild.
a very scary person.
Very, very scary person. Like, someone in the podcast, one of the talking heads is like, that I have no doubt that if given the chance, she would do this again. Like, you cannot reform that kind of person.
No, absolutely not.
And there's even on the podcast people like her classmates who were like, yeah, she was a bit weird. Like, she would write her own like fake accounts to do Facebook comments to herself, and just weird. And then also, you remember how she her Bobby, quote unquote Bobby, and Kirat were on Skype calls like overnight. They'd be on Skype calls the whole time. And there was one time when Simran was at a hen do, and the night of the hen do when they were going out, she was meant to go out with them. One of her friends was like, yeah, she stayed at home. She said that she had work to do, but really she was on Skype with Kirat trying to do American time. So you're actually like blowing up your own life or
for this.
You're like sacrificing things that you would be doing. It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
It actually makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And this is your cousin, and they were having like sexual conversations.
Well, they didn't say sexual. They said like intimate. So they were like,
what does intimate mean?
But they said they didn't share any like pictures or anything like that. But I guess they were talking about, I don't know. But it's kind of it's
either way, it was intimate. Intimate tends to be of a sexual like nature, like it. And I think obviously coming from the community she comes from, she would struggle to say, oh yeah, are you telling me 10 years in they didn't exchange anything? It's wild.
Yeah, the whole thing is
because wasn't there a point where they were like to her, are you a lesbian or something, to Simran?
To Simran?
I'm pretty sure that it came up like, why did you do this, are you in love with her or something like that?
Oh, maybe. I mean, I don't remember that, but yeah, that makes sense. But then it's the thing, I don't think it's even about like,
no, it's not.
I think she's just I don't know, man.
It's not about that. I'm just adding that, saying that adds another weird layer of like weirdness. Because it's like, it's your cousin and you're actually having these kind of convos. Like, it's weird.
So they have this like in the civil trial, there's this bit where like, so Simran gets lawyers, and on the podcast you can hear all the correspondence back and forth, but there's one bit where their lawyers are like, well, actually we're going to sue you, Kirat, because you were grooming Simran, because Simran was 17 when this whole thing started. And I screamed. I was like, are you fucking mad? You have stolen 10 years of my life here, and you have catfished me, and you're trying to say that I was grooming you and I didn't even know it was you.
It's so fucking weird. It's so like, it's actually egregious.
I was like, I know lawyers have to lawyer, but like, come on, you couldn't find another.
Have some humanity.
Fam, even just a speck. Have a speck of humanity. That was crazy. Do you remember the conversation with Kirat's dad?
I kind of vaguely remember it.
So we hear Kirat's dad on the podcast. I think this is the last episode or second to last episode. And Kirat's dad, the thing is, you can't put culture aside with this because it plays a huge part. And I feel like their culture is very similar to our culture in terms of like, there's a hierarchy, you respect your elders, they care about what people think, like nobody really wants to rock the boat too tough when it comes to like other family members, right? Kirat's dad, certain people can read the apology letter, and Kirat's dad is one of them, and Kirat's been trying to get her dad to read the apology letter and he won't do it, right?
Yeah, I remember this.
And then I think, if I remember correctly, like he reads it on the podcast, not out loud to us because we can't hear it, but he reads it and stuff, and he has the audacity to say like, oh, he feels sorry for Simran, which maybe he's saying like, you know, I feel bad because this whole thing has put, you know, a wrench between the families or whatever. I get that, and I get how he probably meant it, but it just came across so cold. And Kira, even in the podcast, is like, what do you mean? How can you say that? Like, he didn't have enough vim for me. No, if somebody had done this to my child, and my sister and I were talking about this episode, I was like, if you have a child and they did this to my child,
everyone's getting beaten. Everyone's getting their ass beat.
Like, it's not because you're my sister and I love you so much that like I'm just gonna ignore what you've done to my child.
No,
are you crazy? And I think the connections are weird. I think whoever Simrat's relative is that is related to them or all that stuff, their family, friends, whatever, he's older than Kirat's dad. So there's a level of like, oh, you know, it just seemed, he seemed very reluctant to like rock the boat.
To step to him,
Yeah. And I'm just like, that's your child, I can't lie. Like, I know she's not a child, she's an adult, but that is your child. Like, if your dad's not going to back you, who's going to back you?
Yeah. This is
ridiculous. Like, what the...
And even in the community, it kind of seems like Simran gets like scot-free, because for her to be marrying, they marry within their community, so
exactly. So people must know,
and she's still they don't care. If anything, I'm sure they see Kira as the weird one.
100%. Kira was even saying that, like, now she doesn't even go to the parties and stuff that they have because she knows that she's gonna see Simran there.
So she even shows her face at parties. Like, there's no shame.
She's living. There's none. She's living her life, and I don't blame Kira, because if that was me and I see Simran, it's on site.
It's on
every
site
every time. But apparently Simran's like quit her job now.
So I kind of think I found her, but I wasn't sure. She was on like LinkedIn. I saw like different Reddit threads posting her and stuff like that. Yeah. Because obviously after this came out, it's probably easy to find out who she is. Yeah, and
they first name, surname, boy. But I think in that community, that's not like Simran's a bait name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there were bare that came up, but someone posted like her actual LinkedIn. Yeah, they posted her actual LinkedIn, and they did it by checking to see what year she graduated and like they did real detective work, boy. And I was like, good. Like, if your community won't punish you, this is one time that the court of public opinion
100%.
let it punish you. I hope she never works again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the truth is that she works in finance, so you're a dishonest person. You can't be
you're dishonest.
In finance.
How can you? Yeah, exactly.
I hope she never works again. Like, I hope so.
It's just crazy to me. It's like, you're going to be someone's wife. You're going to be someone's mum. Like, something in the milk ain't clean. Like, something is off.
Yeah, she's tapped.
She's tapped, and there's no accountability, nothing. So even if there's hope for you to become a better person, how is that ever going to happen when no one's even acknowledged that you're a shit person right now?
I hope she never finds work again.
Crazy. I couldn't. Couldn't. But yeah, it just pissed me off, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Kira, I think there is accountability to be had for her as well, because she was a big woman. Do you know what I mean? There's bare red flags, and like ultimately, even if Bobby was real, so there's two schools of thought. Because even if Bobby was real, and she was in an abusive relationship, right? They do say that like it takes a long time, at least 7 tries or something, before you like leave an abusive relationship, right? So my issue with Kira is more so about the beginnings of this, less about like, oh, you were in a relationship with him, and more about like, there were so many times when like, I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, this is not to say that abuse can obviously be verbal and emotional and stuff like that, but it's just like, you haven't met this person.
Yeah.
So it's like there's always that element of how before you allow someone to have such a hold on you, like meet
at least
them.
See them on Skype.
It's not making any sense.
I feel like nowadays though, like this, because this started in 2009, I would like to think that wouldn't happen these days.
No, it would. Catfish is still a show, and people are still on there being fooled in the most basic of ways. Like, it's not even like the catfishes are being more.
There's a new series. Is there like current series?
It's not even like the catfishes are being more like whatever.
Deceptive.
Like, it's just the same shit. Couldn't FaceTime, my camera broke, and you've been talking for 2 years. Couldn't.
So now I know that you're broke because you couldn't get a new camera in 2 years.
Girl,
and
it's all a mess. So this could definitely happen in this day and age, because people
be careful out there, guys. Be careful.
And obviously now with AI and all this stuff, it's even worse.
That's what I was thinking. It's actually once it becomes like free reign and people know how to use it easily, then people be able to catfish to their heart's content, and then we can have sympathy, because then it will be
there was no way you could know. I honestly think God I'm out of the game. I can't imagine going into the game with all this tech. It's too much. It's too fucking much. Like, and then you don't even know if a guy really is meaning what he says, or if he's just gone to ChatGPT, copied a paragraph and sent it to. Nah, I'm so sorry, I can't.
I remember one time, this was ages ago, because this was MySpace days. Was it MySpace? What was that other? I think it was MySpace. And then so I was friends with a girl who was friends with a girl, and that girl said that she was chatting to this guy from South London, and like how he looked so much like Bow Wow, yeah. And so I saw the picture and I was like, this is Bow Wow. This is a picture of Bow Wow. This is not some guy who looks like him. This is him. She's like, no, like he's from South, and like and so obviously we lived in like Northwest, them times. So like I was like, so you're gonna trek to South London with your £1 a day Oyster card, yeah, and you're gonna see someone who's clearly not this person because this picture is of Bow Wow. And she's like, no, he just really looks like him. Okay. I was like, girl, be so for real.
Girl, okay.
But that was more acceptable because that was early 2000s.
But yeah, and I mean, when MSN like was a thing, like secondary school times, yeah, I would be like on MSN talking to this guy that was like Chris Brown, and like even then I knew that this isn't Chris Brown, but it was just funny and it was fun. And he would tell me all these things, and in my head I'd be like, oh, it's Chris Brown, and it would just be fun. But I knew it wasn't him. Like he'd be like, oh, I'm going to tour, Virginia, Tappahannock, and I'd be like, yes. But like I knew it wasn't him, but it was fun. Like. Even at that age, yeah. He was like, oh, I'll fly you out. I was like, sure, Jan, but this is funny and fun. But like, you knew. And whilst I agree that like you can get catfished, because like I'm married now, like I said, it's happened to me before. But like, first of all, I was seeing this person live and direct. Like I could see it was the person they said they were, but. And this was before AI.
I don't remember that. We'll have to rehash this offline because I actually don't remember.
No, you do remember.
I remember it happening, but I don't remember like the ins and outs. I just remember his name, and I just remember him being like he was gonna come, and then he just never did.
Never did. 2 times. So many
in
lies.
In the 2 times you're out. This one was like 6, 7.
So many lies. Like so many.
Because I remember there wasn't. You were going to America at one point.
So that was after I completely stopped speaking to him, and then I was like, I'm going to America, let's meet. And he was like, oh, I'll fly you out, because I was going to Houston, he was in Dallas or something, somewhere else.
Was it in
Texas?
Texas?
Where it was. Atlanta. He was in Atlanta or something. No, he was in North Carolina.
Oh,
because I remember thinking, oh, it's J. Cole adjacent.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was like, I'll fly you out, but or I'll fly and come see you. And I was like, yeah, but like it's not like the way you're thinking. I just want closure. And he was like, oh, I'm not flying out to have a conversation about all the things we've already discussed. And I was just like, yeah, this is fucking. Okay. And like he is definitely someone that has a lot. In fact, I would borderline say like he definitely was like abusive and has a lot of abusive tendencies. Because even now, like. Obviously blocked him on everything, we don't speak, but he'll like go and like stuff on LinkedIn, or like when I get a new job, like he'll send me. Are you
serious?
Yeah.
Till today. Sometimes I'll go and I'll see that like he's looked at my LinkedIn. That's crazy.
And LinkedIn is the deadest of all social medias. You're not gonna see jack shit, but it's just I feel like it's a power trip to let me know that he's still about. And he would tell the most elaborate of lies that made no sense.
For no reason, unprovoked.
For no reason. Like, he was like, oh, when he moves here, he's going to buy a car. He's going to ship a car from America because there's this particular car you can't get. And I'm like, you're going to pay all that money to ship and you're going to drive on the other side of the roads. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's worth it for me to have that car. Like, he was just weird, like, lies, like, cryptocurrency kind of, like, guys with lies and all this. Okay. And in every job he's ever worked, like, it'll be a company where there are 3 of them.
Not Startup King.
Startup King starting to nowhere. Honestly, I just really wish I could get to the bottom. That's why I would love to know the truth of it, but I think I know the truth of it now.
What do you think the truth of it is?
I think the truth of it is he wasn't who he said he was, in the sense that I either think there are 2 things, because there's a time with FaceTime and then I could swear it looked, because I've gone to uni in America before, it looked like an American Unicom, and the story he spun to me was that he was and it's the same thing, actually, sorry to get there, it's the same thing, because he actually was friends, he claimed to have dated a girl that I knew's friend. So he came off the trip, and they followed each other on Twitter. So he came off the tip of, oh, like, I know her, I was just living in London, I was dating her friend, you know, and when someone says that to you, you're not really gonna go and be like, oh, let me ask this person, do you know what I mean? So you just
I feel like you would, like, you do the CLB check. Okay, so like my boyfriend,
but you only do that
when he had a mutual, like a mutual of a mutual, I went to that person and I was like, yo, do you know this guy? I was like, do you know this guy?
There are two ways to look at it. You only do that CLB check if you're really close to the person. Like, if you're cool enough to the person to ask them. That's number 1. Yeah. And number 2, sometimes when somebody says, oh, I know this person, you automatically relax. You don't necessarily feel that need to do the CLB check.
And it's like, because this person follows them back.
Yeah, so it's like,
cool enough.
A girl, after all was said and done, I went to ask the girl. The girl's like, I don't know this guy. I've met, like, I only know him from Twitter. Like, I don't know him. There's not a friend of mine. Fuck. Weird as fuck. And like, he popped up out of nowhere. I'd never noticed him before. But we just vibed off of, he was like, oh, you went to uni in America, like, start talking and stuff.
And then
like
it's like,
that.
what's the end goal? Like, what's the end goal? So how was this going to end for you? Do you know what I mean? Like, what were you, what was it for? Like, to what end?
It was just all like a mess. Like, the amount of lies, the amount of, like, bro, like, it was really weird. It was super,
and it's weird because it
weird.
can really fuck up your, like, current, like, your reality. Like,
yeah.
with Kira, like, she has to quit her job.
Yeah, you easily get sucked into it. Like, bro, like, oh God, nah. The things that I did at that time, because you keep thinking to yourself, do you know what it is? And I can, not that I can identify with Kira, because I never would have gotten that far. But what I do think is that what happens is you reach a point where you've put so much time, like emotional time and all of that into it, and you say to yourself, something has to come of this. It couldn't have been all of this was for nothing. So because each interval where you're meant to reconfigure and think, should I continue this, you say that to yourself, you carry on, and that's how you wake up with 10 years down the line. Like, this guy was saying to me, okay, he said he booked a flight and was meant to catch the flight, and then he drove to the nearest airport, which was close to his house, his mum's house, got there, and then he said that, oh, like, he thinks his passport needs renewing.
I remember this one.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, go and check. He said his mum couldn't find a passport, he's going to get a new passport, So he said, oh, I've put a new passport application in. This is 1 week to, like, when he was meant to fly to see me, and then he was like, I put a passport application in, I haven't heard back from I called the embassy, and they were like, I remember this. I remember being like, girl, there is no one under that name that has applied for, like, because there were basic details it asks you for, so and I don't even know if those were real details. I asked him for, but that's the details that you had, that he had given. Yeah, it was like there was like, but why though? Do you get me? Like, why though? And the thing is, like, whatever mental issue is, like, plaguing these people, this is not new. Like, nothing under the sun is new. So I just wonder, maybe because we have the internet and we have technology, that, like, this is a manifestation of whatever mental illness is going on that wouldn't have been available before. Of course, because people have been mad since the beginning of time, but they just didn't have the internet to be mad, like, on. Yeah. It's all crazy. But yeah, no, I mean, I say all this to say, I understand the thing of anyone can get catfish, that is true, but yeah, but just to this extent. It doesn't need to be to this extent. And I use myself as an example because it's like, yeah, like, for me, when I think back, I was like, when I think back, it's like a fever dream. Like, what the fuck was I doing? Like, but then also, like, how old were you when this happened? We were, like, in college, uni times, right? Yeah, we were quite young. It wasn't college, uni, just, it was like early 20s. The year after. Yeah, early 20s. And yeah, there's no fucking way. I think if it's going to happen, that's when it should happen. I can't lie. Yeah. When you're in school, before you get a job. But that's why I say late 20s is wild. That's like it happening to us now. Well, yes. That's like happening now. I mean, I'm in my 30s now, but yeah, it is literally the. Yeah, it's like happening now. It's literally like happening now. What the fuck are you doing? That's why I said I have a message from this morning. I listened to my friend's voice note, and I've been meaning to respond. I ain't got the fucking time, and after this, I'll probably sleep. Like, yeah, where do you have the time to? No. Yeah, it's so sad. It's actually, like, it's so sad for her. Yeah, and then the thing is that you get to your late 30s. And then you're like, okay, now I'm meant to be starting. I'm meant to be marrying. I'm meant to starting a family. And it's just like so much time has gone. People have moved on. People have moved on. You've sort of like eroded your relationship, your friendships and stuff. And then also like your trust in people is also eroded. So even if you think, okay, fuck it, I'm moving on now. Let me find someone. You don't trust anyone. You don't trust anyone. The best thing for her to do is write a book. Yeah, maybe that's what she's on because she's been doing interviews and stuff. So yeah, she should. Okay, cool. So that was the podcast. Yeah. The documentary. What are we saying? Do you know what I will say? It was really nice putting faces to the subject matter. So you say this, yeah. And this is my first problem with the documentary. First of all, Bobby, I would throw him some serious ass. A ting. Okay, but before this, because I'm pretty sure that we didn't see what any of them look like. I'm pretty sure these were actors.
I'm pretty sure.
No. But Kirat is the real Kirat. And
Kirat is the real Kirat, yes. But I'm pretty sure, was Bobby the real Bobby?
That's really Bobby.
And
his wife is really his wife, and her parents are really her parents.
No, Kirat's parents were her parents, and her cousin was her cousin. Yes.
Yes.
I feel like all Kirat's people were her people.
Bobby is the real Bobby.
Was he?
Did it say that he wasn't?
It didn't say who was and who wasn't. It just said
Simran
wasn't the real.
It only said Simran wasn't Simran.
Did it say? It just said it just had a generic thing in the beginning.
I thought it said Simran. It said Simran and some of the other players, but Bobby was the real Bobby, no?
It was it. Whoever he was, he was fine.
Let's search.
Have a look. Have a look.
I'll have a look now.
While she does that, I'm going to tell you that I'm drinking, yeah? I'm drinking this white wine. And, like, if you know me, which, I mean, you don't, but if you've been listening long enough, yeah, I don't really like white wine. It's not really my bag, do you know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like it tastes a bit like piss. But this white wine is actually really, really nice. It's the one that, remember I told you when I was at the wine tasting? And I told you that I like that white wine. This girl is so into this search that she's doing that she's not even listening to what I'm saying.
I thought you were talking to the people.
Who did I tell them I went to a vineyards?
I'm so sorry.
Or did I tell you?
I'm trying to get to the bottom of this like Scooby-Doo, okay? I can only do
one thing at a time.
Yeah, I think it was just Simran. That was fake. Yeah.
So why did they make a big cut? Of course it was going to be. Of course Simran was going to be fake.
Okay, let me check again. Bobby for people. Yeah, it's him. It's him.
Is it?
Yeah. From everything I can see.
Probably.
Fine as hell.
He sure is.
When a brown man is fine, he is fine.
They are. They have some buff things.
Yeah.
It just goes to show, like, human beings are just like, I mean, to be honest, sometimes they're ugly, but when they're not, it's a sight to behold.
So what didn't you enjoy about the documentary?
Everything. I feel like, yeah. No, that was dramatic. I felt like for once, like, Netflix should have done this in 3 parts. I felt like it was rushed. And I think because I had listened to the podcast, I was expecting so much more. I just felt like they didn't tell the story. Like, it just felt lazy. It just felt like they just skimmed the surface of things.
Yeah, it wasn't gripping. And I think the thing is, and I thought maybe I felt that way because I'd watched it, but you're right, because I kept thinking, no, this episode's going to end and they'll start another episode, because there was so much detail that was missed.
Yes.
That if you listen to the podcast, you
would yeah.
And then it's so bad that people have watched the documentary and gone back to listen to the podcast. So if that documentary
it wasn't enough
fulfilling everything.
I mean, I like the fact that the podcast is getting more play. Like, I'm sure they're getting more money from it, and I love that. Yeah, it didn't really take away from the podcast, but also didn't add. And I feel like the podcast came out so long ago that this documentary should have been like an addition to, or like what's that thing called when like you have something supplement. And then you have a supplement. Like, should have been like, right, cool, this is the story, and since then and now, and we've now discovered. Or if, for example, Kirat was successful in trying to take Simran to court or whatever the case may be,
there should be an update.
Then there should be a documentary on that. That's when we should have made a documentary and discussed it, and then maybe then brought in some experts to talk about the dangers of catfishing or the psychology behind catfishing or something extra. It literally was just Kirat telling her story, her parents kind of being there, a random cousin we never heard of in a podcast, and then like the Bobby
and his wife.
It just seemed like, do you know what it seemed like? It seemed like a GCSE project.
Yeah, like somebody said you need to do a documentary for GCSE film, and someone produced this.
Everyone pick a podcast and make a documentary about it. You have no budget and 30 minutes. Like, that's what it gave.
I think the only thing that was good that came out of it was the fact that obviously there were more plays to the podcast itself. Yes. And like I said,
and more eyes on the situation, because I feel like Simran should never, ever, 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 ever rest.
No. And that's what I love. I know she's probably like, I hate that this is, because there was some things statement she made after, and it's like, I don't give a heck, I don't give a fuck. I want you to never work in your life. I want everyone around you to look at you sideways. I want
people to look at her the way that they look at Kirat.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of hot takes about Kirat, and it's like, it's so fucking easy to sit on your high horse. And I know I said this the last episode.
It's so easy. Anyone can be catfish. Actually,
anyone can be catfish.
You have a computer, you have internet connection.
You're not above it.
It could be you.
People tweeting, oh, don't come and tell me that you're in love with someone you never met. You do not know.
People are in love with celebrities. Can we be for fucking real?
Thank you. You do not know what you'll do if you meet someone online. And the world is a global village. Like, you have everybody is online so much. Yeah. Are you telling me if a guy from America that looks good slides into your DMs, you guys have one chat, crazy connection, at what point will you cut it off? And
don't get us wrong, yeah? Like, we're not saying that everybody will get catfished to the extent that Kirat did. We're not saying that everybody was as gullible.
Sorry to interject. Can I also just say that lest we forget,
I love that phrase so much.
Bobby was somebody that Kira actually knew.
He was a real person. He was a real person.
It wasn't like a random guy from America DMing you. And even if it was, it can still happen. But this is someone who had ties to the community. So you would never even.
And she had seen him in real life. They had been face to face. She knew he existed. She knew how tall he was.
They had family connect. You would never think. It's actually the same as like if my husband now had catfished me. Like, if my husband had catfished me, we have so many like family ties and connections.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you lost met like.
No, I know, but say for example, we didn't meet the way we did, or say we had seen it at a club. Okay. Say we'd seen it at a club somehow, and then
you've been talking on Facebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would never cross my mind.
And then even your mum would have been like, "Oh yeah, I know of him. Yeah. I know his family."
Thank you. And that we have so many connections that I would be like, "Nah, there's no way."
And that's what people are, and this is why I feel like the documentary failed, because it's like, yes, Kirat was dumb as fuck, at an like, it got to a point where it was like, okay, Kirat, now here's the dumb
Secret
card
service.
Because you and also another thing, the documentary missed out the fact that Bobby died, and then he said, "Woohoo! Only joking, it's me, witness protection."
But do you know that also the thing as well that I think people don't take into account when they say this stuff as well is just that. Even if you remove all the factors, you get to a point where it's the same as when you're in a relationship in real life. You get to a point where you've invested so much in it. You're like, I just want to see this through. Yeah. Like, I want to see it to the end. Because if I walk away and there's even 1% chance that this person is really who they said they are, I would have missed out on potentially the love of my life. So you keep thinking, okay, this time he's going to come through. This
and then it's sunken cost as well, right? Because then you've done all this stuff. And even in the podcast, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I imagined this part, she like did up her house, she did up her kitchen. Oh no, you didn't imagine it. She did up her kitchen in anticipation of him coming.
She bought clothes for the baby. You've done all this stuff, so it's like, okay, at this point, like, all right, what's what? And remember, these things are happening like one at a time. It's not like he came and all of this stuff blurted out in one sentence and then she was like, oh great, sounds great. It's like he's like breadcrumbing her every little thing. Yeah, I'm gonna come. Oh no, I'm actually here. I'm in the hotel. I'm here. I'm this. I said this. Like, it's like bit by bit. Do you know what I mean? Do you think there was a sexual element for
Absolutely there was. Absolutely there was.
I think so.
And even the way she answered it in the documentary where she was like, yeah, well, I don't think it's appropriate to discuss that.
And I was like, why did you come on this documentary? Of course it's appropriate to discuss.
But you also have to think about the community side of things. That's probably the last credibility she has left.
Okay, I guess, because I was gonna say you've already opened your bum for everyone to see. So
yeah, but we haven't inserted the dick, and that's what that would be doing. That's what that would be doing. Because 100% deep it, she's in a relationship with. But my thing is that even if we're talking sexual, I just think to myself, how can you be, for example, say she was showing nudes or whatever, how can you do that and not be getting anything in return? Unless the cousin then was going to search for...
He was probably searching.
This is what I'm saying. And this is why I'm saying the depravity knows no bounds. And that's why a documentary where this could have been used as like a springboard into speaking about catfishing, the mind behind the catfisher, and like how to avoid these things in the future. This documentary did nothing more than just say, hey, this happened to me, bye.
Go and listen to podcasts.
It's like, what was the point? What was the point of it? Like, what purpose did it serve? Like, I get documentaries are like salacious and stuff, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe this thing happened. Okay, but usually a good one is like, oh my god, I can't believe this thing happened. What do we learn from this? Like, how do we go forward? How does this not happen again? How does this not happen to me? Like, I don't know. I mean, I think
they listened to us a bit too much with not doing multiple episodes.
Because this one could have been, the first episode would have been about Kirat. who she is, her life, where she was at, blah, 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 yeah? And the beginnings of the Catfish thing. The second episode would have been like the throes of it, how deep it was, Then the last episode would have been the second episode would have ended with like her finding out that time when Simran comes to the door and is like, oh, it was me, yeah? So the third episode would have been the fallout, how the community took it, how she took it. And then we can get psychologists talking about how, like, why people do this, why it worked, how, you know, this thing could also happen to you, blah, 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 blah.
Get us a documentary deal, not us doing it.
That would have been
Netflix.
it. 3 episodes done, and each one would have been like 40 minutes.
I think what Netflix should have done is sat here and said, okay, because people are going to watch it anyways, because
exactly.
they would have thought they would have thought there's more to it than what we heard on the podcast. But Netflix really should have sat down and thought, okay, what more can we give people than what they've heard on the podcast?
Exactly. And the thing is, they didn't even give us what we had heard on the podcast. You gave us less than what we already had.
It's kind of like when you go to cinema to watch a movie that's based on your favorite book.
Yeah,
it always disappoints, other than Harry Potter. I mean, some say that Harry Potter did disappoint, but I feel like it did really, really well for
considering a fantasy book,
and also considering the fact that those books are so long and the movies were longer than most movies. I think Harry Potter did well. But
my days, have we told them that I've watched Harry Potter?
You haven't, because we haven't told them, because you've watched what, 3/4 of one?
I was even up to 3/4.
I don't think so. So I wouldn't class that as watching. You still don't get the
no,
references.
but your face is really contorted right now, and I just feel like okay, so just so everybody knows, yeah, if you've listened to this podcast long enough, I wasn't allowed to watch Harry Potter as a child because my mum, Jesus God, yeah. And I just never felt the need to, because like I'm a big woman now, what's the point? Anyway, went to Florence's house. I was doing her hair. She was like, oh, we're going to watch Harry Potter. Great. Happy. I did it. Do you know what I mean? I did it. And obviously...
No, you didn't. Okay.
Okay, no, but I wasn't against it. Do you remember? You were
watched, No, you weren't. But you watched, like you said, was it even...
It was like half an hour.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it must have been longer than that because your head.
It was longer than that because if you've watched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, we got to the bit where. No, we got quite far because we got to the bit where we discovered that
he was invisible for a bit. That invisibility cloak. That's where we got to.
What's his name again? His godfather. Oh shit! How can I forget?
Yeah. Anyways, did you even watch it?
He wasn't the bad guy, and it was really that guy that came back that everyone thought was dead and turned into a mouse. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about if you watched it. But yeah, no, you didn't finish it.
But I have watched more Harry Potter than I had ever seen in my life.
Yes, and you didn't go on to continue. So
okay, well,
I wouldn't then say you're part of the gang.
No, I'm not trying to be part of. I'm neither cool nor the gang. Yeah, I just wanted people to know that actually I have embarked on my Harry Potter journey.
Have you?
Why is your face like that?
Because to embark on a journey means you've started and you plan to go forward. Do you plan to go forward?
I plan to go forward. Yes, it's in my plans.
Okay, you've embarked.
Thank you.
But should it take you 10 years to further that?
It took me 30 to get to this point.
And see,
so we have to do one step at a time.
Okay.
One step at a time.
I was singing that in my head.
There's no need to rush. Who sings that?
Jordan Sparks.
It's like learning to fly. Is it?
I think
Why does it sound like a Nickelodeon song?
It sounds because that's the kind of music she used to make.
Yeah, it's true. Where is she these days?
Nickelodeon meets Disney songstress.
Yeah, true. But yeah, no, what else didn't they talk about in the podcast? So there was a bit in the podcast, and you guys obviously you just heard it, yeah, when Simran and Lawyer tries to accuse Kirat of grooming her. Do you remember that bit?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. But it's on brand because Simran seems like a very nasty piece of shit.
So nasty and so rude. Like,
it's just low down and dirty, which is what she is. And it's like, I don't advocate people putting hands on their kids at all, but her parents should have beat 10 bells out of her.
Kira should have beat her. Do you know, honestly, yeah, and I think I said this when we discussed the podcast, it would be on site. If your name is even Simran, I'm sorry, you might have to catch it. You might have to catch it.
And it should have been a community beating as well.
And that again is another thing.
I don't know I think they're Sikh.
Yeah.
People in the temple should have also jumped her.
Yeah. It's true but even it seemed as though, from what I remember from the podcast, that they were all on Simran's side. Simran wasn't ostracized. Simran still got engaged.
I wouldn't say they were all on Simran's side. I think they kind of were just like,
if you're neutral, you are on the side of the oppressor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I think Simran is married now, I think.
Yeah, she must be because she was engaged podcast times.
And it's
she probably got kids.
Bad for Kirat because like she was like, yeah, kids are not on the... And Kirat is so beautiful. I wasn't expecting that. Stunning.
But I felt like I knew what she looked like.
I didn't.
Oh, no, I think because I went to search her actually afterwards. Because I knew what she looked like. It didn't surprise me that was her.
And I didn't see anything because I didn't... Yeah.
And the thing is, she seemed like... I mean, one thing the documentary did do was kind of show her... like how she was before this all happened, life at the party, goodbyes, her radio show. She was that bitch. She had loads of friends. She was da-da-da. And it's just a shame that someone's madness has like stolen a decade from your life.
Yeah.
And it would have been so nice if this documentary ended with Kira being like, but now I'm better, faster, stronger. Like, I now have my own child. I'm in a relationship. Because not only have you robbed her of those years, you've also like taken those years that it will take for her to heal, recover, and move forward.
Yeah.
You've cost her.
Yeah. Because she's starting back at ground zero again. And
ground zero is like a shithole. And she has to like rebuild.
God.
Anyway, I hope Kira keeps shouting. I hope she never stops shouting because, okay, cool, I'm dumb, I'm an idiot, cool, say what you want to say about me. But I shouldn't be ashamed. Witch. Yeah, she's a witch and she should be ashamed. And it's about time that the law caught up with
internet,
technology.
AI, like all of this
insane.
Stuff. It's time because telling me there are no laws, it's not good enough because this is now what the criminal world looks like. So
exactly, things have changed. This was at the very least like coercive control, whatever. That's insane.
And this is the only way Kira can get justice is to spread the word.
It's like let everybody look for Simran Bogle and be like, okay, well,
I've looked at if you go on Reddit, they've had her LinkedIn up on there at point, they had her this and that. She has almost gone like off the grid to survive.
And the thing that they also discussed in the podcast and not the documentary was how Simran's friends or people who knew her were like how she was kind of weird and she would like write comments to herself on Facebook and it was so obvious that it was her writing them to herself and just
so why did no one flag this?
Flag it to where? Flag it to who? Right? And it's not like she created this whole like Bobby community and she was telling people she was doing it. She probably was just doing it in the comfort of her own home. How many email addresses does one person have? This is what I mean. A documentary would have been good.
I must say I have a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Okay, but do you have a community of 40 people in a group chat?
No, but I have
you
a community,
reply on all of them?
community of discounts that I'm getting.
Yeah, and much like the rest of us. But yeah, there's just so much about Simran that I'm just like, you can't have this story about Kira without exploring Simran. You can't.
And how unwell. And I do think Simran's unwell.
She's unwell.
Yeah.
But she's a witch.
Yeah, she's a witch. Someone literally was, I mean, we've heard this, but someone literally was like, yeah, I support your mental illness. Like, you can have mental illness, that's fine. You deserve all the help and support. But that is not an excuse for being a shit person to other people. And it is true.
Yeah.
And, like, I think Simran definitely, there's something there. I mean, there must be.
Something milking clean.
That is not a normal way to function. But then you don't then need to make someone else's life hell. Mm-hmm. That's, I can't.
And it was so intentional. And you know what I started thinking as well? You know how Bobby, the witness protection, was in New York, yeah?
Yeah.
And then Simran went to New York for work and then brought back a t-shirt of his or something that smelled like him and whatever. And I was like, Simran probably manufactured this whole thing for him to be moved to New York so that when she goes to New York for work, inevitably, it will make sense that she would be there to see him and bring... Because why... Obviously, none of this makes sense.
Sprayed it with male cologne and like... And then also it further... Because at that point, they had been talking for ages. Mm-hmm. Kira is still like, I'm not meeting this guy, but your cousin has gone and been like, yeah, he gave me this for you. Of course you're going to hold on to hope.
Yeah. And it's your cousin that has been like, I've seen him. Like, why would I be doubting? Now, do I think my cousin is mad? It's just, there's just so many, like, it wasn't accidental. It wasn't like, maybe it was a compulsion. I don't know. But like, she put in a lot of work. And even they were saying, she was doing her A-levels during this time because she was 17 going into uni. You are telling me, you passed your A-levels, you got into university, and at the same time you were doing all this.
And she must have gotten good grades as well. I don't know how
she would have done. It's just like, girl, what the heck?
Scary state of affair.
If you cannot trust your younger cousins, who can you trust? It's actually insane. So anyway, yeah, Netflix, listen, I get that maybe you're trying to rush this one through, but I just feel like maybe our advice should stop being, oh, like you're doing too much. Maybe it should be like, let's actually sit down and think about the story we're trying to tell and what it is we want to, because really, what was the point? You told the story. What was the aim? What did you want the audience to take away from this documentary?
Yeah, I
like
agree.
It just seemed like they wanted a moment and it was going to be a bit of a viral thing. It didn't seem like they wanted longevity or like something people would want to rewatch. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like
Or
learn from or discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, we're discussing it, but we're discussing it negatively. So you know, I just feel like,
then I guess in this day and age, things going viral is all that matters.
it's just so sad. Oh my god, I saw this
It's where we
TikTok and it was like someone talking about all the AI tools they use to create content. And it just made me so sad because I was just like, it was like, oh yeah, I ask what content ideas it should give me. I ask ChatGPT, and then I get it to do my voiceover using my voice. And I'm just like, do people not want to create anymore? Like, don't you want to create?
And
if
then
you're a content
you'll be
creator,
competing with people like this, and they're doing all this.
and it's like, I just feel like sometimes, let me just get on my high horse here, on my soapbox. I feel like sometimes like people don't actually care for creating content or for being creative or for like making something that's going to be entertaining, informative or whatever. They just see it as an alternative to going to an office.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I think people see it as, oh, I'm going to go to an office. I don't want to go to an office. I'm going to be a content creator. It looks like the easy way out, so I'm just going to do it. They're not passionate about what they're saying. They're not passionate about what they're doing. They don't care. And I think ultimately it shows. We're shifting away from like curated content now. People want organic. People want like creativity. People want authenticity. So I don't know that we'll be in this space for a long time. People will always have these tools they can use, but I don't see that these people are who are going to be successful in the long run, because we're shifting away from that. That's why the Kardashian whatever thing they're doing isn't working as well.
Yeah,
and
also everyone's poor, so it's just kind of like, babe, you having all this money and doing all this stuff is, in fact, it pisses me off. Actually, somebody
was talking about, there's this girl, I don't know if you've seen her, she's Asian and she does like what I spend in a month.
What is it? A lot?
One month she spent $82,000.
Oh,
and she sits there and she reads off like 30k on this, 20k on that. This dinner was $5,000. And so some guy did a TikTok and he was like basically saying that all of you are haters that are critiquing her. And I usually just scroll on
we're
by.
haters and we're broke.
I usually just scroll on by, but I commented and I was like, actually, no, we're not. Because sitting here, read the room. Like, there are people that are struggling to put food on the table, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're coming online and you're telling people that you spent 30k, like, traveling. And everyone knows pretty much that you're on an allowance. Like, she said it before, she's on an allowance, she doesn't work. Who is this content for?
Yeah,
like, it's not it this
before it was like aspirational, right? Like, I even think to some extent, like,
and I even said that it's giving that girl that was hosting the Met Gala and said eat the rich or let them eat cake.
Oh no, I was gonna say that, but yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was gonna say that girl
principle,
the
and not everything
influencer,
is hate.
The influencer, when I think her heating or something was broken, so she went to go stay in a hotel. Do you remember?
And there's nothing wrong with going to stay in a hotel because your heating is broken. Like, if you can afford it, of course, anybody who can afford it is going to do it. Coming online to be like, oh, I went to stay in, my heating's broken, so I'm going to stay in. I think it was like not the Four Seasons, because it's a British one. It's Savoy or something like that.
Yeah, ridiculous. It was a nice hotel.
Who is this content for?
Yeah.
Like, who is your target audience? Because the reality of the situation is most of the users on TikTok are average, everyday working people. It's not like yes, there are people who are upper echelons of society, but for the most part, it's average, everyday working people. And there's nothing wrong with showing that you have money. There's this girl that did an unboxing of all the stuff she got for her 18th. And I didn't follow her, but I looked at her content, went on her page. So now I sometimes see her stuff.
Yeah.
Her parents have so much money that when they have a house in the Bahamas, Beyonce stayed there, right? So she did a tour. And it was like, her content is very much like, this is just my life. And she'll always be like, yeah, you know, I know I'm really lucky. And obviously, whatever. But it's just like, this is my life. It doesn't seem like gorging. Like, she's just... I go to Bahamas for summer.
The same way I would be like, hey guys, I'm going to Morrison's.
Right, exactly. To some people, that is crazy that we can afford to go to Morrison's or we can afford to go on holidays.
M&S.
Exactly, right. But it's very different from sitting here and talking about how frivolous 30K on a dinner.
I think that people are really like out of touch with society, and it shows. And I think that people are becoming more and more aware that life is fucking them over, and that even though you're doing all the things that you're supposed to do or you're told to do,
you're not getting any further. And that is the problem we are in as a society, which is why all of these up 1%ers need to keep their mouths shut, because it's not even like, oh, okay, it's just a small marginalized group that are complaining. Your everyday average person who has gone to uni, done all the things they're meant to do. Some people have 2 degrees, master's, PhD, are coming out. They cannot afford to buy a home. Okay. Some people are buying when they're 35. People are putting off having kids because of money. Like, I don't take for granted the fact that I'm very comfortable and I'm blessed for the life I have. I'm not mega rich. I have a lot of money I want to make, but even at that, I cannot afford to have a baby. Do you know what that means? Like, and then you're coming online telling me you spent 30K on a dinner. I don't give a heck. I don't give a fuck.
30K they didn't even work for.
And that's the thing that's annoying. And the thing is that your daddy that did work for the money, he exploited someone. Because let's be real.
And that's that on that. And there we go.
That's that on that. There are very few people that are really wealthy millionaires
and ethical.
What more billionaires that are 100% ethical? Someone is suffering for your daddy to have that money.
Someone's getting fucked up the ass.
I don't want to hear it. I'm so sorry. So
and
that is why Real Housewives of the Mormon Lives, or whatever that show is,
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives,
is doing better than the Kardashians will, because this is people getting arrested.
They need a season 2, fam.
This is people with broken nails. We're seeing all the tea.
Are you watching Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
No,
that's your next one. It's so good.
I can only do so much.
It's so good.
So much.
It's like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but like older. It's like them in like 20 years.
Okay, maybe we'll see.
A couple of them have, they've absconded from the church. Some of them are still holding tight. Some of them 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like, it's just great. Oh, also, speaking of TV shows, our bestie's got a new show out.
Who?
Beauty in Black. Mr. Perry.
Oh my god. I saw that come up and I said, I have to be in a very particular headspace to watch this. I'm not. Oh, you watched it?
No, I haven't watched it, but I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. But
it needs to be a Sunday. It needs to be a day I've got nothing to do. It needs to be a day where
what angered me? Unfortunately, I saw the TikTok of Why Did I Get Married, which I always credited as like really decent Tyler Perry work. And it was like,
no, tell them.
Guys, if you've watched that movie, they go to a cabin, right? Notoriously, this is the cabin that guy leaves her to drive up to whilst he gets the plane. And then someone was like, have you guys clocked that for the snow on top of the cabin, you just put
on
blankets?
The roof. It's like white fluffy blankets. I said no, surely not.
My whole life without seeing. Why did that person do that?
Surely not.
No, but surely yes. Because Tyler Perry will write a movie today, film it tomorrow, edit it the next day. Of course the snow is going to be a blanket.
But you know what?
He probably could not wait for the snow machine to be delivered, and he's like, it's fine, we've got blankets, let's use that. So I have to be in a headspace to watch it, because even if this show isn't disappointing, it's going to disappoint me later. So let me watch it and know that I'm going to be disappointed, and then I'll watch it. I don't want to watch it to think anything else.
But with Why Did I Get Married, like, okay, that snow is probably the only fault that we found in it.
Thus far.
But in that movie is like 20 years old. No, it was actual blankets, like folded up. Listen, we were talking about being creative. That is creativity at its finest.
Some creativity is evil.
Some creativity,
Icarus flew too close to the sun. Some creativity is actually evil.
Screaming. Anyway, if you haven't listened to the podcast, I mean, we've discussed it already. You heard that, but if you want to listen to it, give them your views. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But Netflix, babe, do better, babe, because there was a good chance that you didn't have to do this. It's like, you know how we felt about the MH370 one, and it was a 10-year anniversary, and we were like, you could have kind of held this until like maybe there was a resolution. Like, why did we have to do it now, kind of thing? I feel like with this, when the laws change or when blah blah blah, like when Simran's brought to justice, then we should have revisited it then, because the content was still out there for the world to hear, and in a much better way, an investigative, journalistic way.
I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, those were our thoughts on the documentary. We've had a couple of people ask. Also, you guys have been commenting on like previous episodes. I love that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So please make sure you do that. Like if you have anything to say, any thoughts on this case, this story, you can also follow us everywhere. 2 Girls 1 Doc on TikTok. It's 2 Girls 1 Doc podcast. Yes. If you just leave a review wherever you're listening to the podcast, if you can rate it 5 stars and share it with someone. That's probably the biggest thing you can do. Share it with someone and just get them to listen.
Tell a friend.
Exactly. Next, we're doing a documentary about Vinted.
My husband loves Vinted.
I love Vinted. I am a Vinted babe.
Fiend.
I'm on a shopping ban right now, so like I haven't really been, but I be selling. Yeah, I be selling.
My husband be selling.
Are you sure it's him? But it's him and not you putting up stuff that you don't want him to have no more. What happened to that jacket that you didn't like that he liked?
Long gone. I put that in a bin in my parents' house.
I won't tell him. Away from the source.
I think he knows.
Yeah, but what's he gonna do about it?
He was like, "Where's my hoodie?" I was like, "What the fuck do you mean hoodie? Because he's cut off the hood. So what the fuck are you talking about?" He was like to me, "Are you sure you haven't seen it?" And he gave me a look, and I was like, "No."
You used to with that meme, that Diddy meme.
Yeah, and that the two of us were the Diddy meme looking at each other, and that was the end of the conversation. And because he's never brought it up, I know for a fact he knows that I got rid of that shit.
If he was really about it, he would buy another one, cut the hoodie off, and then wear it around the house again.
And I'ma hide that
and
shit
be
and
like,
throw it away
checkmate.
again. No, because
but why would he cut the hood off?
Because why men?
I don't understand that. Is that a red flag? Should I be concerned for my friend?
Since then, he's bought hoodies, normal hoodies that he's just worn. So
but
why
they sell
men?
them without the hood, though. Like you can buy it without the hood.
And that is what I said to him. So why men?
And did he cut it at the seam then, or was it like film from on the top?
He cut it at the seam, but obviously it looks stupid and it was frayed. Be concerned for your friend because your friend is married to a man.
No, yeah, that
so,
part.
Yeah.
It's like of all the men, like you picked a good one, but like unfortunately, a man he still is.
Yeah, he's still a psycho.
But
yeah. Okay, well,
it's been real. We'll see you next week. I'll leave the trailer at the end, and till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
I've been buying so many amazing pieces from Vinted. I've got a couple of Vinted parcels to open.
Vinted is changing the way we shop.
Gone are the days of tramping around a car boot sale and looking at a ratty fur coat in the back of a van. The way that we perceive second-hand goods, Vinted has played a key part in making it sexy for the new generation.
On Vinted, you can make extra money by selling clothes you don't need.
And this glossy advertising has worked. An estimated 65 million people use the app in over 20 countries, hunting for second-hand bargains.
If you're not on Vinted yet, you need to get on there.
Clothes, kids' toys, and even luxury handbags.
Prince Charming costume.
Oh my god, so cute.
It can be great, it can be terrible. It is like the wild, wild west.
But how much can we really trust Vinted's second-hand bargains?
Some of these items have been recalled because they're fire hazards, choking hazards. Potentially your baby's nose is covered, and that might be sudden infant death.
We've uncovered evidence women on Vinted are being targeted.
This is actually disgusting. To have my body on there, my face, it just makes you feel really vulnerable.
Is Vinted really doing enough to protect its customers?
It horrifies me.
It's quite shocking when someone threatens you with a gun.